So, for starters, I am recording this in my car, so if it sounds a little different, it's because of that. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah, let's get started. So, why are we obsessed with hard games? What is it that makes watching Dark Souls slash Elden Ring to Kingdom Hearts' hardest battles to Toho's Bullet Hell Mania so goddamn addicting? Or am I the only one who feels that way? Like, I really can't try to sound motivational here, so let's just get I don't know. Anyways, let me know. So, this video isn't going to be very long. It just takes it's just kind of like a ramble, really. So, for a few years, or 4 years actually, not a few, I've always loved watching high-level play and, like, things such as fighting games and all that stuff, but not just for my favorite games, but games in general. Isn't it just fun to watch people just go balls to the wall and show what a game has to offer? Fighting games are probably the highest level stuff most people think about, but for me, I would think of games where challenge is part of their identity. In today's day and age, we're usually obsessed with accessibility and making games appeal to the broadest audience possible, but what's lost is game essence. I don't want to stray too much from my main point, but I really love when a game plays and has a unique mechanic that embodies a specific type of feeling or experience. Dark Souls is my go-to easy boy pick. The game harkens back to lots of those older 3rd-gen games from the NES or arcades, and I really suck ass at playing Dark Souls 2 and Elden Ring, but the frustration actually would make me jump and talk to the screen, and not like a Gamer Boy rage mode, but the I'll get you next time sort of feel. Movement is a core component of these games, as dodge rolling, placement, and spacing literally make or break your experience. If you win, it's because you took those into consideration while memorizing the boss patterns to look for the most optimal strats. Side note, but I grew up with emulation, so I've been immersed in 4th gen and 3rd gen games since I was a kid, and while I say that Dark Souls harkens back to those games, like those Nintendo hard games, they still feel fundamentally different. Whereas in Ninja Gaiden, you could die from constant enemy spawning due to how developers coded, From Software games aren't designed with that unfairness. Now, I'm not saying that the former is bad, but they each approach unfairness in different ways. Games from back then were made by developers who were not only wanting players to play for a long time, but had to actually work with limited space and time, which boxed all sorts of ideas of what they could and couldn't do. They were still setting the template for games within their genres, so they were learning all sorts of things and realizing what's too unfair and what's too challenging. Players around that time were used to arcade experiences and their short pick up and play nature, such as Asteroids or Pac-Man. And games were easy to play, but they were really hard to master, which is something that needed to be translated to the home console experience, but also expanded upon. So, we should give them their pats on their backs for working in an industry that was still growing and learning. In today's day and age, developers like From Software take those experiences and honor them, but in a way that makes them more approachable and, it makes it more of an approachable challenge, if that's even actually a thing. They make games in that easy to pick up, hard to master vein, but what if you make games that are the opposite? Experiences where you don't have to necessarily master them, but they can still provide a challenge and make you actually grow, even while being relatively easy to finish. That's where games like Kingdom Hearts fall in. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts since childhood, and it has been my first foray into action RPGs. They were easy to pick up, and I felt so awesome being able to just swing my Keyblade and mow through Heartless like nothing. But while I didn't have to be a master, the games did ask me to pay attention, and I started growing as a result. While Souls-like games are like throwing a baby into an abyss, Kingdom Hearts is like riding a bike with training wheels and your parents' help, then to riding without their help. So you'll have to start putting in more effort, and eventually you'll realize how much you've grown from those training days to now. Sorry for that poor analogy, or if it sounds like I'm insulting one or the other, but I really am not. Games to me can be done in many different ways, and I'm all for it. And this is where I now hard pivot to Kingdom Hearts' harder content. Remember that analogy about riding bikes? Well, fighting the extra content of Kingdom Hearts or playing on the harder difficulties is like going from a bike to a motorcycle at top speeds. While you can experience these games at a lower level and still grow as a player and complete them, the harder stuff rivals some of the hardest stuff that the industry has actually ever produced. And it's a true testament to skills when people actually can make the Lingering Will or Yozora look like a new Super Mario boss. And I'm not saying Mario doesn't even have his own difficulty, he does. But the real question comes into, why do we push ourselves? That's the question I asked, right? Well, it's because we want to. We want to push our senses and see what a game can offer. What's the intention of the developers? What are they testing me on? It's never a simple answer like yes or no. It's an answer that ranges from person to person. We all have our reasons, but they broadly fall into because we want to, that I mentioned earlier. And for me, when I watch these high-level displays, it's like all the blood, sweat, and tears from the developers are just hitting me. This is their work. And for players, watching them so focused and then smile or laugh after they complete it and just share that experience with others is something I just cherish. So, yeah, that was a ramble, and it was very loose, but I don't want to just make like completely scripted videos all the time. You know, it's meh. Anyways, there's plenty of ways I could have improved on this, but yeah, I just wanted to have a quick talk. Anyways, if you have any stories about games that you poured max effort into, let me know. I love hearing people's stories, and it's now a tradition in my video whenever I end it, but have some brain rot, and I will hopefully record in another place next time. Bye.
Clouds too high.